the birth story kind of starts a little bit at like week 37. So it was my first time going to my new OB. It's the same like OB group, just at a different location that I had never met. And so it was 37-week appointment. I was like 3 days shy of 37 weeks. The doctor that I meet ends up having some personal ties with trisomy 13 community, just because she had a niece who she had lost to trisomy 13. And so she's telling me all this, as we're talking, and I'm already feeling just like so happy that she's had a similar experience, because that makes her care towards me so much different and more personal. She does a cervix check at 3 days prior to 37 weeks and says, "You're dilated to a 3. He's really low. I don't think you're gonna make it to your 39-week induction date." And I'm like, holy crap. Okay. I wasn't expecting that. Brenton wasn't at this appointment because I remember I was like, oh, it should be fine. I'll have my mom come with me. And he didn't come. And I was like, hey, baby might be here sooner. So my doctor said, I think that maybe due to the circumstances, we can get an approval for an induction at 38 weeks, which would have put me really like the next week, the next Friday. She's like, if you would like me to be the doctor to deliver your baby, I will be in Friday at 6 p.m. So we can have you scheduled to come in Friday the 26th in the morning. And then it'll probably be slow or maybe fast. She's like, but hopefully I'll make it in time. And so that was kind of like the precursor to February 26th. I was already so nervous because I was like, holy crap, I'm already dilated to a 3. Like, what if I don't even make it to Friday the 26th? But thankfully we did. My dad flew in from California and he came and stayed so that he would help with Jade. My mom would help with Jade. They would both be on hands. And I just remember it was Friday morning. We get the call from the hospital that it's time to go in for our induction. And it was probably about like 9:30 at this time. They said, you can come in anytime if you want to come in at 10. And I was eating breakfast and I was so nervous. I was shaking. I was not feeling very great because there's just so many unknowns, right? And so I think you could tell my complexion. I just didn't really want to eat. My dad was trying to crack jokes and I was not feeling it. My mom was like, let's get pictures. And I was like, you can tell in the pictures that I'm just like so nervous. But we decided to go into the hospital at 10:30 a.m.
As far as, February 26th, I think it's super cool. Just my birthday's in the month of February, and Ezekiel typically likes children's birthdays to be in different months so that they're not shared with other people's birthdays. But I felt super excited knowing that our son would, be in the same birthday month as me. And so once Ezekiel and I jumped in the car, grabbed the hospital bag with those 2 outfits, like she had mentioned, the, couple swaddles and the outfit for my mother-in-law, we got to the parking lot of the hospital and they told us where to park at the back, not in the front. And we just kind of sat there for a second thinking, no matter what happens, this whole experience up until this point has been so enlightening, and we felt so much support from a lot of people. And at that time, we grabbed the bag. Ezekiel and I grabbed all of our stuff and walked into the hospital, not knowing if we would leave with the baby, not knowing if we would be there longer because our baby might be in the NICU, just not knowing, but going in there reassured and calm. Personally, Ezekiel might have been a little anxious, but knowing that we were there together, that Jade was in good hands with my father-in-law, and going into the hospital and having a great group of individuals that knew our situation and were there ready to help with, whatever we needed their help with.
Yeah, so we probably checked in around 10:30, 11. They were super kind enough to give us a room that was bigger and kind of away from things, because I think the nurses there they all knew that our circumstances were a little differently. So we had a bigger room that was a little away from like all the other rooms. And I remember they checked me in and they said, okay, we're gonna start you off really slow because, wow, I can't even remember a doctor's name. But the doctor wanted to make it, and so she was like, we're just gonna take it really slow. And so I was still dilated only to a 3, and they, I remember, started me off with like epidural and everything. And so started me off on Pitocin, and it was kind of smooth sailing. About like noon, I remember I was already like at a 5 and they were really, really slow on Pitocin. I didn't do any of that with my first. Well, with my first, I did have an epidural, but I didn't have Pitocin. My body just did it all naturally pretty quickly. So I was kind of nervous because I was like, this is kind of being forced a little bit on my body, but my body was handling it really well, and it was actually really fast. I remember it was about 3 o'clock, and the doctor came in and checked on me and was like, okay, well, the doctor should be here in a few hours. You know, we're going as slow as we can so that she can make it and deliver Ezekiel. And I just remember like, okay, yeah, like we were just hanging out. Like, I think we called Jade a few times, and it kind of, to me, it's kind of a blur because I just remember trying to be calm and enjoy the moment and live in the moment. And so I think that most of the things that went on were just normal things that happened during a birth, but we just didn't have a heart monitor, like, or monitoring him, and I had an epidural, so I wasn't really feeling contractions. And then probably about right at 6, when our doctor came in, she came and said hello. She's like, I'm so glad we made it. They had just picked up the Pitocin a little bit, and I was probably dilated to a 7. And she's like, okay, like this is happening quick, so we're just gonna have you like chill here. Your water hasn't like broke yet, so we'll see if it breaks on its own. If not, we'll come back and break it. But I'm here, so we should all be good, and this baby will be here soon. And we're like, okay, cool. It probably was about an hour later, like 7 o'clock, and I was like at a 9, and they were like, oh, your water broke. Like, I just remember everything happening so fast. They're like, oh, your water broke. Okay, we're gonna get you ready to start pushing. And literally within 20 minutes, I was like, I need to push. Like, I just felt the need to push. And they're like, okay. And I was like, our videographer wasn't here yet. And I was like calling her, and I was like, hey, are you gonna make it? And she's like, yeah, I'm like 3 minutes down the road. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I just really have to push. And she's like, okay, I'll be there. And so she's like rushing through the hospital to get to us. Our doctor's rushing in the room as well, getting everything ready, just literally waiting for the videographer to come set up so that I could start pushing. Because it was just that fast. Like, everything just kind of went smooth sailing, fast. The doctor made it, and within like an hour, I was ready to push. And Ezekiel was born at 7:26 p.m. that Friday night. I think I pushed twice, if that. And I just remember there was such stillness in the room when he was born. And they set him on my chest, and I didn't really think much of it. My daughter didn't really cry when she was born either. I remember they were trying to get her to cry, and she was just very calm when she was born. He didn't cry either, but I do remember that when they set him on my chest, he was just very limp. He was very blue. So I didn't really know what was going on. And so I just remember him being on my chest and feeling, you know, all the emotions that you feel after you have a baby, and wondering, like, is he okay? Like, what's happening? Like, I was on this high of like, I have my baby, but I kind of forgot that there's all these things wrong, and I didn't even know if he was okay. And so I just remember asking, like, is he okay? Is he okay? And the doctor was just very calm and said, you know, his heart rate's just a little low. We're not sure how long you'll have with him, so just like take in the moments. And I just remember like, okay, like, I just remember holding him and just really taking in the moment, because we didn't know how long we were gonna have with him. And you know, he was probably, I don't know, exhausted from the journey he had just gone through, and he just laid on my chest, and it was probably a good 15-20 minutes, and then all of a sudden he just started getting color. He got really pink. Our daughter was pretty dark to begin with. Like, she had more of a brown skin complexion, so she wasn't really pink. Ezekiel's very white and pink, and so as soon as he started, like, his oxygen started flowing and his heart rate went up, he had this like pink color to him, and the doctor kind of looked and was like, we're gonna take his like pulse again. And so they took it, and it was normal, and they were like, oh, he's doing really well. And so they just said, just, you know, keep doing what you're doing. We don't have to do any like measuring or weighing yet. And so I just remember I held him for a really long time, and our families were all in the waiting room just waiting to hear from us. And I think Brenton just sent a picture of me and Ezekiel, and they were still on their toes because they still had no idea, what was going on inside the room. But it was a very peaceful moment that I don't think I really ever thought was going to be this perfect, because again, there was so much craziness, so much uncertainty, and we just felt like it was a gift to be able to just hold him for the first 20-30 minutes of his life. And it was almost like holding him back to life, right? Because he really didn't have a pulse when he was born. And so it was interesting to see that. And Brenton got to do some skin to skin with him. As they noticed that he was doing better, they just let him do skin to skin with him. Then they weighed him. And then it was time to bring our daughter in and our family to meet him, which the hospital was generous enough to let us bring our family in to meet him. So.
And I think that was probably the, most special moment for me. The fact that the whole last 20 weeks of pregnancy, I was stressing because I was like, I need Jade. I need Jade to be able to meet her brother. So I called my mother-in-law and father-in-law in with Jade, and it was just us 6 in the room: Jade, me, Itzel, Ezekiel, and my in-laws. And the fact that Jade was so excited to see this baby, who she was kind of aware that was her brother, but didn't know why he was in the room or how he got there from mom's stomach, and just having Itzel and Ezekiel and Jade and myself there in the room, it was just perfect for me, because I know that he's been watching over us, watching over Jade over the last 11 months. And the fact that I had my in-laws there that had blessed me with my wife, Itzel, and now we are blessing them with another grandbaby since Itzel's an only child. And it was just a very sweet moment to know that Jade was able to meet her brother and be a part of that experience with us, and not have to go through life knowing I had a brother and I never met him. And so I'm very grateful for the, hospital staff and them allowing more than just me and Itzel's mom to be in there with Itzel's parents. And then we told my parents to come in, and then all my siblings and their spouses and significant others. And the fact that there was 14 people in a room without social distancing, but at the same time everyone was able to meet Ezekiel, and the fact that he was so attentive and awake and looking at everybody in the eyes was so special to me, because most babies just are born with their eyes shut and are sleeping. But I think he had a chance to look at everybody that cared for him and loved him, and the whole experience was just perfect for me.
So yeah, like Brenton said, it was so special that we were able to have our family, who is local, to meet him. It was so interesting because Ezekiel looked perfect in every way. You wouldn't have really known that he had a genetic disorder, and the time that he was able to spend with our family was very special to them and to us, because we all remember him being so awake and so alert during those 2-3 hours that they visited us. And it was special because it was as if he knew that, he was only gifting us this time. And so as we look back on his short life, it was very special, and it was like he was very intentional with his time, because we have pictures of him looking up at grandma and grandpa on both sides and just like staring into their eyes. And it's just this beautiful thing, because he was only like 3-4 hours old, right? And so I just think it was really special to be able to share that with our families as well, who were embarked on this journey with us. So yeah, Brenton was able to give him a blessing and a name with his dad and his brothers, and it was a really special moment because we were anticipating this moment and we didn't know if we were going to get it. So it was just, I remember the spirit was filled in that room, and I remember what he said in the blessing was, we don't know what your purpose is on earth, if it's long-term or short-term, but you have gained a body, and maybe that's all the only purpose in this world for you. It was in Spanish, so I'm trying to translate it, but it was just a really special blessing, and I just hold that really dear to my heart. And I just felt like his birth was it was a perfect way to describe his life. It was everything went the way it was supposed to go, even though no one forced it to be that. I felt so calm and at peace with my decisions, because I knew that everything that had led us to this moment was meant to be, and his life was meant to be, and we were just going to take it hour by hour at this point. So